He never expected the flicker of a gas station sign to illuminate his future. She never expected a simple act of kindness in a forgotten town to change her life's direction. But sometimes, the most profound connections are forged in the most ordinary places, when least expected. What happens when the walls built by status and circumstance crumble under the weight of genuine character and a shared purpose? What if a simple act of paying for gas ignited a firestorm of opposition, challenged everything they knew, and forged a love story against impossible odds? Stick around to see how one man's integrity and one woman's courage proved that worth isn't measured in dollars, and how a love built on respect can conquer the darkest shadows. Make sure you're subscribed and have notifications on, because this is a story that reminds us that second chances can find you anywhere, and sometimes the greatest treasures are hidden in plain sight. Travis stood under the harsh fluorescent lights of the only gas station for miles, the scent of stale coffee and exhaust fumes a familiar comfort in the late Idaho evening. Rain slicked the pavement, mirroring the persistent drizzle on his own life. At 35, a skilled mechanic with hands that could coax life back into the most stubborn engines, he was back in his tiny hometown. The prodigal son returned not in triumph, but necessity. After his wife left, taking half of everything and leaving him with 2 young kids and a pile of debt, the vibrant city life felt like a cruel joke. Back here, in Oak Haven, things were slow, predictable, and cheap enough to manage, barely. His garage was a leaky shed behind the small rental house he'd managed to find, his tools a mix of worn-out heirlooms and carefully acquired basics. Most days were a grind, fixing tractors for local farmers, patching up older cars that barely held together, chasing down payments that were always next week. But he had Jamie, his 7-year-old, all boundless energy and endless questions, and Lily, his quiet 5-year-old, who drew pictures of them all flying. They were his anchors, his reason. Everything he did, every late night spent, hunched over an engine block, every skipped meal, was for them. They needed clothes, school supplies, food that wasn't always ramen. They deserved stability he hadn't been able to provide, not yet. His principles were simple: work hard, be honest, protect his kids. Tonight, the principles were tested by a rumbling stomach and the dwindling stack of cash in his wallet. He was counting out change for a gallon of milk and a loaf of bread when a sleek, black sedan pulled up to the pump, looking utterly out of place amidst the pickup trucks and beat-up sedans. The driver, a woman with sharp, elegant features and a carefully composed air that seemed to hum with unspoken tension, wrestled with the card reader for a moment before sighing in frustration. Travis finished paying, tucking the change away, his eyes lingering for a second. She radiated an aura of someone far removed from Oak Haven, her tailored jacket and precise movements speaking of boardrooms, not muddy back roads. She tried another card, then another, her composure starting to crack. The attendant, a kid Travis knew from high school, just shrugged apologetically. "System's been acting up, ma'am. Cash, only tonight." The woman looked genuinely distressed, glancing at her fuel gauge, which was practically on empty. She didn't have cash, not enough anyway. I don't understand. My cards." Travis hesitated. He needed every cent. Jamie wanted that cheap plastic dinosaur he'd seen at the dollar store, and Lily needed new crayons. But the look on her face, the quiet desperation behind the polished facade, resonated. He knew what it felt like to be stuck, vulnerable, needing help. He stepped forward, his work-worn hands finding the few crumpled bills and change in his pocket. "Excuse me," he said, his voice a low rumble that held surprising confidence. The woman turned, her eyes, a striking shade of gray, meeting his with a flicker of surprise and guarded caution. "Is everything all right?" Travis asked, already knowing the answer. I seem to be having trouble," she admitted, a hint of embarrassment coloring her cheeks. "I don't have any cash on me, and my cards aren't working. I'm trying to get to Boise, and I'm completely out." Travis nodded, understanding clicking into place. Boise was hours away, stranded here, alone, in the dark and rain. Not a good situation for anyone, let alone someone who clearly wasn't used to it. Without another word, he walked over to the attendant. "How much does she need to fill it?" he asked. The kid looked surprised, then checked the pump. "Looks like about $40, Travis." Travis pulled out the money he had, supplementing it with some he'd been saving for unexpected bills. It wasn't 40, but it was enough for maybe half a tank, enough to get her somewhere closer, or maybe just back to the nearest town with a working ATM. "Here," he said, handing the attendant the money. "Put this on her pump." The woman stared, taken aback. "Wait, you don't have to do that," she said, her voice regaining some of its firm edge, though laced with disbelief. "I can figure something out." "It's raining," Travis said simply, turning back to her. "And you're stranded. Happens to the best of us." He managed a small, tired smile. "Consider it a neighbor helping out a traveler. Just pay it forward sometime." She looked at him, really looked at him, her initial surprise deepening into something akin to wonder. She saw the grease under his fingernails, the worn knees of his jeans, the kindness in his tired eyes. This wasn't someone trying to get something. This was someone simply being decent. I don't know what to say," she finally managed, her voice softer now. "My name is Sarah," she offered, extending a hand. Travis took it, his grip firm and warm. "Travis, just be safe on the road, Sarah." He didn't ask for her number, didn't press her. He just paid for her gas and turned to leave, grabbing his milk and bread. As he walked away, he could feel her eyes on his back. He didn't look back. He had kids waiting, a house that needed patching, and a pile of work that wouldn't do itself. The $40 was a significant hit, but the thought of her stuck there in the rain felt worse. He figured the universe would balance the books eventually. Back home, the kids were asleep. He made himself a meager sandwich, the silence of the small house amplifying the weight of his responsibilities. He didn't think about the woman in the black car again, not consciously. He just focused on getting through tomorrow and the day after that. Oak Haven life was mundane, predictable, defined by routine and the constant hum of struggle. Travis woke before dawn most days, the chill seeping into the old house, and started his day with the quiet rhythm of making breakfast for Jamie and Lily, packing their lunches, and getting them ready for the walk to the bus stop. The shed that served as his garage was drafty and cramped, but it was his sanctuary, filled with the familiar scent of oil and metal. He spent his days diagnosing knocks, replacing belts, patching tires, his hands moving with practiced ease. Money remained tight. A major repair job fell through. A few clients were late paying, and the school sent home a notice about a field trip fee he hadn't budgeted for. The memory of the $40 spent on a stranger's gas flickered briefly, but he pushed it aside. It was done. No point regretting a decent impulse, even if it pinched. A week passed. Then another. Life settled back into its familiar pattern of work, kids, worry. One Tuesday morning, as he was wrestling a stubborn transmission, the mail arrived. Tucked between bills and junk mail was a heavy, cream-colored envelope addressed to Mr. Travis Miller. It was formal, bearing a seal he didn't recognize. Curious, he wiped his hands on a rag and opened it. Inside was an invitation, printed on thick cardstock. It invited him to a community vision meeting at the Oak Haven Town Hall, hosted by Mayor Thompson. Travis frowned. He wasn't exactly a pillar of the community. He kept to himself, focused on his kids and his work. Why would the mayor invite him? He almost tossed it, but the formality of it, the sense of occasion it tried to project in this sleepy town, made him pause. Maybe it was some generic invitation sent to everyone. He decided not to think about it. He had a truck engine waiting, The day wore on. That evening, after putting the kids to bed, he found himself looking at the invitation again. Something about it nagged at him. Curiosity finally won. He decided he'd go, just to see what it was about. Maybe they were talking about fixing the roads, or maybe they needed a mechanic to consult on something. He didn't own a suit, but he had a clean pair of jeans and a decent work shirt. He arrived at the town hall just as the meeting was starting. The main room was surprisingly full. Local business owners, town elders, even a few faces he recognized from the gas station and grocery store. He found a seat near the back, feeling slightly out of place. Mayor Thompson, a portly man with a booming voice and an air of mild self-importance, stood at the podium, going through the usual pleasantries. Travis half listened, his mind drifting to the list of repairs he needed to do tomorrow. Then, the mayor introduced the reason for the special meeting. "As you know, Oakhaven is at a crossroads," he announced. "We have potential, but we need a catalyst. For years, we've discussed the old Oakhaven Mill site, a centerpiece of our history, now fallen into disrepair." He gestured towards a large rendering displayed on an easel. It depicted a revitalized complex, workshops, commercial spaces, maybe even affordable housing. "We believe this site can be the heart of a new Oakhaven, bringing jobs and opportunity. And tonight, I want to introduce the person who will be leading this ambitious project. Many of you know her, perhaps not in this capacity, but she has deep roots here, a fierce love for this town, and the vision and resources to make this happen." Mayor Thompson paused for dramatic effect. "Please welcome my daughter, Sarah Thompson." Travis froze. Sarah Thompson. The name hit him with the force of a physical blow. And then she stepped forward, walking to the podium with the same composed elegance he remembered from the gas station. The woman he'd bought gas for. Sarah, the mayor's daughter. Gasps rippled through the room. While Sarah had grown up in Oakhaven, she had left years ago for college and a high-powered career elsewhere. Her return, especially in this capacity, was clearly news to most people here. Sarah stood before the crowd, her grey eyes sweeping across the faces, a faint, knowing smile touching her lips. She began to speak, her voice clear and confident, outlining her plans for the mill project, the potential economic impact, the jobs it would create. Travis listened, stunned, the pieces clicking into place. Her expensive car, her distress at the gas station, her composure, it all made sense now. She wasn't just Sarah, she was the Sarah Thompson, daughter of the mayor, a woman of influence and resources. He felt a blush creep up his neck, a mix of embarrassment and disbelief. He, Travis Miller, who lived paycheck to paycheck, had bailed out the mayor's daughter because her credit card didn't work. As she finished her presentation, detailing the structure of the project, different sections focusing on artisan workshops, technology hubs, and a community center, she looked out at the audience again. Her gaze swept over the room, then paused. It landed directly on him, sitting in the back row, trying his best to disappear. A small, knowing smile played on her lips again, one that held a hint of amusement and something else, something warmer. "This project will require talent and dedication from all sectors," she said, her voice carrying clearly through the microphone. "We need skilled tradespeople, innovative thinkers, people who understand the value of hard work and community." She held his gaze. "People like Travis Miller." Travis felt every eye in the room turn towards him. He straightened up slowly, a knot forming in his stomach. Sarah Thompson, from the podium, was calling him out. "Travis," she said, addressing him directly, her tone shifting slightly, becoming more personal, though still audible to everyone. "I haven't forgotten your kindness the other night. It meant more than you know." She paused, letting the murmurs spread through the crowd. His gas station encounter was now public knowledge. Great. I've been making inquiries since then, she continued, her gaze unwavering from his, about who contributes to this town, who has the kind of quiet integrity and skill that often goes unnoticed. She gestured towards the rendering of the revitalized mill. This site will need significant restoration and ongoing maintenance. It requires someone with deep mechanical knowledge, problem-solving skills, and absolute trustworthiness. Her expression softened slightly. Someone who understands the value of something old and broken, and has the vision and ability to make it work again. She took a step forward. Travis, I'd like to offer you the position of Head of Facilities and Restoration for the Oakhaven Mill project. The silence in the room was deafening, broken only by a collective intake of breath. Travis couldn't speak. Head of Facilities? For a project this size? It was a job he could only have dreamed of, stable, well-paying, a chance to use his skills on something meaningful, something that could change his and his children's lives forever. Sarah gave him a small, encouraging nod, a silent question in her eyes. Could he do this? Did he accept this incredible, unexpected offer? He looked around at the stunned faces, the curious eyes, the disbelieving stares. This was real. This was happening. He swallowed, finding his voice. "Ms. Thompson," he said, his voice steady despite the tremor in his hands. "Sarah, I would be honored." A ripple of applause started hesitantly, then grew as people processed the moment. The mayor beamed, clearly pleased with his daughter's dramatic reveal. Sarah held Travis's gaze for another moment, a genuine smile now breaking through her composed facade. It was a smile that spoke of more than just a job offer. It was a smile of recognition, of gratitude, and perhaps the first hint of something entirely new. The unexpected kindness at the gas station had indeed ignited something far bigger than Travis could have ever imagined. The next few weeks were a blur for Travis. Transitioning from the solitary work in his drafty shed to a bustling office at the town hall, even if it was a temporary setup while the mill site was assessed, felt like stepping onto another planet. His worn jeans and work shirts were replaced by slightly less worn chinos and polo shirts he'd unearthed from the back of his closet. He still got grease under his fingernails from inspecting the old mill machinery, but now he also sat in meetings discussing budgets, timelines, and structural reports. The job was everything he'd hoped for, and more. It offered stability, a good salary that meant he could finally afford things like new shoes for Jamie without guilt, and a challenging scope of work that genuinely excited him. Sarah was a whirlwind of energy and sharp intelligence, juggling meetings, contractors, and community stakeholders with effortless grace. She was demanding but fair, quick to listen, and even quicker to recognize competence. Their professional relationship quickly deepened. She sought his input on technical matters, trusting his judgment implicitly after seeing him analyze the mill's aging infrastructure with a mechanic's eye. He, in turn, was impressed by her sharp mind, her dedication to Oakhaven, and the unexpected down-to-earth quality that belied her privileged background. They spent hours together at the mill site, discussing restoration plans, troubleshooting potential problems, and sometimes just talking. He told her about Jamie and Lily, about his struggles after his marriage ended, about his dreams for a better future for his kids. She listened intently, sharing glimpses of her own life, the pressure of her family's expectations, the demanding world she'd come from, the loneliness that came with her position. They found common ground in unexpected places. A shared love for old jazz music, a dry wit that mirrored each other's, a surprising mutual appreciation for truly terrible B-movies. Their work conversations flowed seamlessly into personal ones, filled with easy laughter and comfortable silences. The initial awkwardness of their first meeting faded, replaced by a growing ease and connection that was both exhilarating and terrifying. In the small, insular world of Oakhaven, their partnership and the undeniable spark between them didn't go unnoticed. Whispers followed them in the grocery store aisles, eyes lingered a moment too long when they were seen together at the mill. For most people, it was simple gossip, a fascinating development in the town's social landscape. But for some, it was a threat. The mill project was a significant undertaking, and Sarah's decision to give a key position to an outsider, a mechanic, with no experience in large-scale project management, at least according to the rumor mill, rankled those who felt entitled to influence or positions within the project. Leading the charge of this quiet opposition was Bryce Sterling. Bryce was everything Travis wasn't. Polished, wealthy, a native Oak Havenite, whose family had been influential for generations. He was also Sarah's ex-fiancé. Their relationship had ended years ago, before Sarah left Oakhaven, but Bryce still clearly felt a sense of ownership over her and everything connected to her family, including, it seemed, the mill project. He was involved in a competing development company that had submitted its own proposal for the site, a proposal that Sarah had politely but firmly rejected in favor of her own vision. Bryce saw Travis not just as a romantic rival, though the growing connection between Travis and Sarah clearly fueled his jealousy, but as a symbol of Sarah's rejection of Oakhaven's established order, of his established order. He was used to getting his way, to navigating the town's politics with ease, and Travis was an unknown variable, an unpredictable factor, introduced by Sarah that threatened to upset his carefully laid plans. He started subtly. Whispers spread through the town hall staff about Travis's lack of qualifications, his questionable past, a vague term designed to imply scandal without specifics, and the impropriety of Sarah hiring him based on personal favors. Anonymous tips questioning Travis's suitability appeared in the local paper's comment section. Supplies for the mill project were delayed or misrouted. Small, frustrating obstacles appeared in Travis's path, designed to slow him down, make him look incompetent. Travis felt the shift, the subtle resistance, the cold stares from some of the town hall staff. He saw the looks Bryce gave him whenever their paths crossed, a condescending smirk that spoke volumes. He knew he was being targeted, but he wasn't sure of the source until Sarah, her jaw tight with controlled anger, showed him a nasty email sent anonymously to her and the town council. It detailed fabricated stories about Travis's supposed financial instability leading to reckless behavior, hinted at neglect towards his children, and outright accused him of manipulating Sarah for financial gain. The language was vicious, personal, and clearly designed to discredit him entirely. "This isn't just office politics, Travis," Sarah said, her voice low. "This is deliberate. Someone wants you out, and they're willing to lie to do it." Travis felt a cold dread settle in his stomach. He could handle the snobbery, the doubt about his skills, but attacking his character, his kids, that was a different level. "Do you know who sent it?" he asked, though he had a strong suspicion. Sarah didn't name Bryce directly yet, but her expression, the tightening around her eyes, told him she knew who was behind it. "I have my suspicions," she said, her voice hardening. "Whoever it is, they clearly feel threatened by you, by us, and by what this project represents." She looked at him, her gaze unwavering. "Are you ready for this, Travis? This isn't just a job anymore. It's a fight." Travis thought of Jamie and Lily, their happy faces oblivious to the storm brewing around their father. He thought of the mill, the potential it held for Oakhaven, for his family. He thought of Sarah, standing beside him, facing down her own demons and defending him. He was scared, yes, but he wasn't going to back down, not from this. Not now. "I'm ready," he said, meeting her gaze with a resolve that surprised even himself. "Let's fight back." Their quiet, budding romance was now caught in the crosshairs of a bitter, escalating conflict, forcing them to rely on each other in ways they never anticipated. The stakes had just been raised, and Travis knew this wasn't just about a job anymore. It was about his reputation, his family's future, and the fragile, precious connection he was building with Sarah, the attacks escalated. The anonymous online comments became more frequent and venomous, detailing fabricated issues with Travis's work, hinting at delays and cost overruns that didn't exist. The local paper, influenced by Bryce's connections, ran a thinly veiled article questioning Sarah's judgment in hiring someone with unconventional credentials for a project of this magnitude, subtly linking it to potential mismanagement and hinting at cronyism. Travis's old truck, parked discreetly behind the town hall, was vandalized, tires slashed, paint scratched, clearly more than random mischief. One afternoon, Jamie came home from school upset because another kid had repeated something negative they'd overheard about Travis at home, asking if his dad was going to get fired because he was bad at his job. That was the lowest blow. Travis felt a surge of protective fury mixed with despair. This wasn't just impacting him anymore. Bryce Sterling had crossed a line. Sarah was furious. She saw the toll the constant negativity was taking on Travis, the way it shadowed the pride he felt in his work. She also recognized Bryce's playbook. He was trying to isolate her, undermine her project, and drive a wedge between her and the community, using Travis as his primary weapon. "This is harassment, Travis," she said, sitting across from him in her office, the legal documents detailing potential responses spread between them. "We can go to the police about the vandalism, file a defamation suit regarding the anonymous attacks." Travis ran a hand through his hair, weary. "Legal battles take time, money. Money I don't have." Sarah reached across the desk, covering his hand with hers briefly. "We have it, Travis. You're not in this alone." The simple gesture, the quiet strength in her voice, was a lifeline. Their relationship, forged in shared purpose and growing affection, was becoming a fortress against the external pressure. They spent even more time together now, not just working, but strategizing. Sarah used her legal knowledge and connections to trace the anonymous online accounts back to computers registered under shell companies linked to Bryce. Travis, with his network of local contacts from his years as a mechanic, gathered quiet evidence of Bryce's manipulative tactics. Hearing whispers from people Bryce had pressured or threatened, they found strength in each other. Late nights at the mill site, reviewing blueprints or inspecting structural elements, turned into moments of vulnerability. He'd tell her about the exhaustion of being a single parent, the constant juggling act, the fear of failing his kids. She'd confess the loneliness of living up to her family name, the constant scrutiny, the difficulty of finding someone who saw her, not her status. One evening, sitting on a dusty scaffold beam, watching the sunset paint the old mill in hues of orange and gold, Sarah turned to him. "Why didn't you ask for my number that night, Travis?" she asked, her voice soft. He looked at her, surprised by the sudden question. "You were clearly in a hurry," he said, "and you were in a different league. I didn't want to seem like I was trying to take advantage, or, I don't know, asking for something." She smiled, a genuine, open smile that melted away the layers of her composure. "You never ask for anything, do you? You just give. Gave me gas, gave this town your skills, gave my father your respect, gave me—" She paused, her eyes searching his. "Your belief." He felt a warmth spread through his chest, the kind that had nothing to do with the dusty environment. "You gave me a chance, Sarah, a real one, something I never thought I'd get." Their hands found each other again, fingers intertwining naturally. The air crackled with unspoken emotions, with the weight of everything they were facing, and everything they were building together. They shared their first tentative kiss under the fading light, a promise whispered between shared burdens and growing hope. But Bryce wasn't finished. His next move was more direct, more public, and designed to hit Travis where it hurt the most: his children. He used his influence with a few disgruntled parents in Jamie and Lily's school community to stir up trouble. Accusations surfaced that Travis was neglecting his children due to his demanding new job, fueled by distorted accounts of his long hours at the mill. A complaint, completely unfounded, was filed with Child Protective Services, triggering a mandatory investigation. Travis was blindsided. A social worker arrived at his door, asking questions that felt invasive and accusatory. He had to explain his work schedule, provide details about childcare. Thankfully, his neighbor, Mrs. Gable, a kind, elderly woman, helped after school, and subject his children to gentle interviews. Jamie and Lily, confused and scared by the stranger asking about their home life, clung to him afterward, their fear palpable. Sarah was livid when she found out. This wasn't just professional sabotage anymore. This was a malicious attack on Travis's family, a cruel and desperate tactic. It confirmed the depths of Bryce's depravity and solidified her resolve to fight back with everything she had. "He's desperate, Travis," Sarah said, her voice bean-sharp. "He knows he can't attack the project directly because we've covered all the bases. So he's going after you personally, professionally, and now, your kids." Travis held his children tightly that night, watching them sleep, the weight of the false accusations heavy on his heart. He wasn't just fighting for himself anymore. He was fighting for his family's safety, for their peace of mind, for their future. The fight against Bryce Sterling was no longer just about a job or a project. It was about protecting everything he held dear. The tension reached a boiling point. Sarah and Travis knew they couldn't let Bryce's attacks continue unchecked. The Child Protective Services investigation, though likely to be closed quickly due to lack of evidence, was a stark warning. Bryce was escalating, and they needed to confront him directly, expose his tactics, and neutralize his influence before he did irreparable damage. Sarah called for an emergency town council meeting. The agenda was ostensibly about a progress update on the mill project, but Sarah and Travis had a different plan. They spent hours preparing, gathering the evidence Sarah had compiled, tracing the online attacks, documenting the vandalism, and gathering statements from people Bryce had intimidated or manipulated. Travis even contacted an old friend, a former colleague who now worked as a private investigator, to find concrete proof of Bryce's involvement in the CPS complaint. A text message exchange, a paid informant. The night of the meeting, the town hall was packed. The air was thick with anticipation, a sense that something significant was about to happen. Bryce Sterling was there, sitting in the front row, a smirk playing on his lips, surrounded by a few of his allies on the council and in the community. He looked confident, arrogant, certain of his position. Mayor Thompson introduced Sarah, who took the podium, her usual composure replaced by a quiet intensity that commanded attention. She started by giving a brief, positive update on the mill project, highlighting the progress Travis and his team had made. She spoke about the jobs already created, the community spaces being planned, the hope the project represented for Oakhaven. Then her tone shifted. "However," she said, her voice clear and steady, "this project's progress and the reputation of key individuals involved have come under attack." She looked directly at Bryce. "Deliberate, malicious attacks," a murmur went through the crowd. Bryce's smirk faltered slightly, replaced by a flicker of unease. Sarah laid out the evidence, presenting the traced online posts, detailing the vandalism of Travis's vehicle, referencing the false article in the local paper. She spoke calmly, factually, letting the weight of the evidence speak for itself. She then addressed the CPS complaint. "Most disturbingly," she said, her voice trembling slightly with emotion, "these attacks have extended to the personal lives of those involved, targeting even innocent children." She explained the unfounded nature of the complaint against Travis, her eyes finding his across the room. "Travis Miller is not only an exceptionally skilled and dedicated professional," she stated, her voice rising slightly. "He is a devoted, loving father who puts his children above everything else." She paused, then delivered the final blow. We have obtained evidence proving these malicious actions were orchestrated. Evidence pointing directly to Mr. Bryce Sterling. She signaled to Travis, who stood up and walked to the front, holding a folder. This includes communication confirming Mr. Sterling's direct involvement in fabricating complaints and coordinating the smear campaign against Mr. Miller. Travis, usually quiet in public settings, spoke with a quiet power that silenced the room. He didn't grandstand. He simply presented the evidence clearly, calmly, his voice unwavering. He spoke about the impact on his children, the fear they experienced, the baselessness of the claims. He spoke not with anger, but with the quiet dignity of someone who had been wronged but refused to be broken. The atmosphere in the room shifted dramatically. Bryce turned pale, his eyes darting around the room, searching for support that was rapidly evaporating. His allies on the council looked uncomfortable, distancing themselves from him with their silence. Sarah stepped back to the podium. Mr. Sterling's actions were not just an attack on Travis Miller, she stated. They were an attack on this project, on the integrity of this town, and on anyone who dares to bring new ideas and progress to Oakhaven without his approval. She then addressed the council. We cannot stand by and allow such malicious tactics to succeed. The future of the mill project and the trust of this community depend on us standing for what is right. Mayor Thompson, looking stunned and deeply embarrassed by his daughter's public takedown of a prominent family's son, quickly called for a motion. The council, pressured by the undeniable evidence and the shift in public sentiment, voted overwhelmingly to condemn Bryce's actions and initiate an investigation into his conduct and any potential legal ramifications. Bryce stood up, his face a mask of fury and humiliation. "You can't do this," he shouted, pointing at Sarah. "You're ruining everything. You're being manipulated by this." He gestured contemptuously at Travis. "This, nobody." Travis met his gaze, his expression calm but firm. "The only person doing the manipulating here is you, Bryce," he said, his voice low and steady. "And you failed." Bryce, seeing the tide had turned completely against him, stormed out of the room. His departure met with silence from the crowd he had sought to control. The tension broke, replaced by a sense of stunned relief, then a rising wave of support for Travis and Sarah. People came forward, shaking Travis's hand, offering apologies for doubting him. They congratulated Sarah on her courage. The meeting concluded, but the energy in the room lingered. Travis and Sarah stood together, a team stronger for having faced the challenge side by side. "We did it," Travis said quietly, looking at Sarah, a mixture of exhaustion and triumph in his eyes. Sarah smiled, a genuine, relieved smile that reached her eyes. "No," she corrected, taking his hand, her fingers interlacing with his. "We did it. Together." In the heart of Oakhaven, a mechanic and the mayor's daughter had stood against intimidation and manipulation, proving that integrity and courage were the most powerful forces of all, and that their bond, forged in kindness and tested by fire, was unbreakable. With Bryce Sterling's schemes exposed and his influence neutralized, the path for the Oakhaven Mill project cleared significantly. The initial period of suspicion and resistance Travis had faced evaporated, replaced by genuine respect and admiration. His quiet integrity, proven under pressure, resonated with the community. People saw not just a skilled mechanic, but a man of principle who stood up for himself and his family. The Child Protective Services investigation was quickly closed, the allegations dismissed as unfounded. Travis's name was cleared, his reputation not only restored but enhanced. The mill project moved forward with renewed momentum. Travis, now fully integrated and trusted, thrived in his role as head of facilities and restoration. He approached the complex task with the same meticulous care he applied to repairing engines, his practical knowledge proving invaluable in revitalizing the aging structure. He hired local workers, mentored younger people interested in the trades, and became a respected figure in the community he had once felt detached from. Sarah's vision for the mill began to take tangible shape. Workshops filling with artisans, tech startups, renting office space, the community center buzzing with activity. Her courage in confronting Bryce cemented her position not just as the mayor's daughter, but as a true leader, dedicated to Oak Haven's future. And through it all, her relationship with Travis deepened, evolving from a partnership forged in crisis to a profound, enduring love. The boundaries between their worlds blurred entirely. He was comfortable navigating the complexities of her life, offering grounded perspective and unwavering support. She found solace and strength in his quiet presence, his unwavering honesty, and the simple, genuine love he offered. They were a team, professionally and personally, their strengths complementing each other perfectly. He brought the practical skill, the understanding of what makes things work, the connection to the people. She brought the vision, the resources, the ability to navigate the larger world. They built a life together, one piece at a time, just like restoring the old mill. Their dates weren't always fancy dinners. Often, they were spent walking through the mill site after hours, dreaming about its future, or simply having dinner at Travis's small house, the kids included. Jamie and Lily adored Sarah, drawn to her warmth and the genuine way she connected with them. Sarah embraced her role in their lives, reading them bedtime stories, cheering at Jamie's soccer games, helping Lily with her drawings. They were becoming a family, a blended unit, built not on traditional expectations, but on love, respect, and shared values. One sunny afternoon, months after the confrontation with Bryce, Travis stood on the newly restored roof of the mill, looking out over Oak Haven with Sarah beside him. The town looked different now, brighter, humming with a new energy. The mill, once a symbol of decline, was now a beacon of hope. "Remember that night at the gas station?" Sarah asked, leaning her head on his shoulder. "I thought I was just having a bad day. I had no idea that little act of kindness would lead here." Travis wrapped an arm around her, pulling her close. "Me neither. Just thought I was helping someone out. Never thought it would lead me to everything." He kissed the top of her head. "You gave me a chance, Sarah. You saw past the grease and the struggle. You saw me. You made me see things differently too, Travis," she said, turning to face him, her gray eyes shining with love. "You reminded me what really matters. Not status, not money, but integrity, kindness, and having people you love by your side." He held her gaze, the future stretching out before them, bright and full of possibility. "We built this, Sarah, not just the mill. Us." He smiled, a wide, genuine smile. "Seems that sometimes the best things come from unexpected places, like a gas station in the middle of nowhere." They stood there for a long moment, silent, holding each other, the sound of the revitalized mill working below a gentle reminder of their journey. The old mill, brought back to life by their shared effort, stood as a testament to second chances, resilience, and the power of unlikely connections. Travis Miller, the struggling single dad, had found not just a job, but a purpose, a partner, and a future brighter than he had ever dared to imagine, all because he chose kindness on a rainy night. And Sarah Thompson, the mayor's daughter, had found in him the authenticity and strength she never knew she needed, building a love story that defied expectations and proved that true worth lies within the heart. Their story was a reminder that hope can be found in the most challenging circumstances, that courage can transform lives, and that sometimes all it takes is one moment of connection to change the entire course of your future. Think about the moment Sarah offered Travis the job at the town hall meeting. If you were Travis, what would be the first fear that would flash through your mind, even before the excitement? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next story of resilience, romance, and unexpected twists.